another Dawn and Julia Create, and I have set the challenge this time, and the challenge is to play with my new paints. Yay! You may have seen these in the haul that I did, but there are new Kuretake Gansei Tambi. These have been on the market for over a year, and I didn't know that. I only just discovered them when I bought them. So I'm very, very excited because I do love this brand of paints, and these colours are just utter gorgeousness, and they're pastel and they're opaque and they're just yummy, yummy. And I noticed that Dawn had the same paints too, so when we see something that we both have, naturally a challenge needs to occur out of it. So today this will be our colouring medium. We are going to colour up the stamp set Millie and Olive with said paints and create a journal page, and I cannot wait to get started. So let's just get going. So we get the Millie and Olive stamp set out. I also know that this is a favourite of Dawn's, which is why I chose it, because Dawn does love owl images, and I think I drew these just for our Dawn at the time because I knew how much she loves owls. So I am stamping here with the VersaFine Clear ink because we are going to be watercolouring. So that one is a solvent based ink, so it's not going to move when we add water. Look at those gorgeous colours. Oh my goodness, they are so lush. I cannot wait to sort of really give this set a proper play. So I'm just putting down the foundation layer of watercolours. Full disclaimer, I am not a watercolour expert. It is not my normal genre or my normal colouring medium, but it is something that I want to improve my skill set on, so that is why I've been adding it to these challenges. And also it is my goal for 2024 to become more proficient at using watercolours. So you do have to sort of put a foundation base layer on. You traditionally work from light to dark with watercolours, and I'm used to working with from dark to light with alcohol markers, so that does sort of feel a little bit different. And obviously you need to let the layers dry in between to build up your colours. So this is me just putting the base coat down. As you can see, I've added a little bit of shading, but that is with the intention of building up those colours with subsequent layers. So I have let that dry in between, and now we are going down with one of those subsequent layers. I think this is the second one. I don't do too many, to be honest, because I don't really know what I'm doing, quite frankly, but we still managed to get a fairly pretty result. Anywho, so I am just adding that second layer on. Now the good thing about these particular paints is they are incredibly opaque. So they are more opaque than your traditional watercolour, which suits me just great. They're not quite a gouache, but they are sort of like between a gouache and a watercolour. There will be a video coming soon where I explain the difference between gouache and watercolour and jelly gouache and all of those lovely things, but that's not for today. For today I'm just colouring in these eyes. I did say that we could add a black pen, so that was me putting my black pen to good use and just sort of colouring those eyes in, because they didn't stamp out particularly well, but it's a quick and easy fix if that happens to your stamped images. Right now I'm just fussy cutting those out, ready to put on our art journal page. So here we are, we're going to start building up the background. Now in reality, in real life, I was building up this background in between doing the layers of the colouring of the images, but for continuity of the video, and so it didn't seem like I was going back and forth too much, I have put them into two different sections. Now I did realise once I got to this stage that I hadn't given us the ability to stamp and to build up a background, because I didn't put that on the list. So hence we are attempting to stamp with paint, and actually it worked out quite good. So this is why limiting your supplies sometimes can be a really good idea, because you end up coming up with techniques that you would have never tried before. Now I'm careful to try and keep my brush quite flat as I'm putting the paint onto the stamp, because you don't want it to go into the crevices as such, because then you won't get a clear impression. But this is working quite well, similar to when I draw on the stamps with a watercolour pen. So I put the pink down. I then decided to put some blue down as well. I think at this point I kind of regretted it, but we do manage to bring it back in the end. So, you know, don't worry if you go through stages of like, oh no, I shouldn't have done that. We can generally bring it back. And then with the paint that is left on my brush, I am just sort of adding a little bit of a swoosh across the bottom, and that is going to be grounding for our gorgeous birds to stand on. decide to add a little bit of extra splatter because it's me. I love a bit of splatter. And then, look at that gorgeous green. Oh my goodness, how lush is that? Decide to paint in some trees. Now, I probably would not have had the confidence to do this, but in the last Dawn and Julia Create, we made some watercolour cards, of which I did watercolour trees. To be honest, they didn't turn out particularly well, but it has given me the desire to practice that technique. So this time I've just gone for simple circles and painted those on, and then I'm using the side edge of my brush just to create little tree trunks and put those in, and then a little bit of water just to sort of blend that out. And then, without having necessarily had those as stamped images, we have very quickly and easily created a background scene, and then I'm just sort of dabbing the brush down to sort of create a sort of grass type looking thing, and I'm quite impressed with how that turned out. So I'm emphasising that with a little bit of doodleage. So I'm just doing some very scribbly lines. Let's face it, none of us are going to draw a perfect circle, so we just embrace the fact that we're not going to draw an imperfect circle and just go with it. So I just did about 3 squiggles, and then I'm going to do my sort of traditional little scribbly lines over those to make it all look very deliberate. So yeah, then draw in the trunks, and this is kind of almost going to make it look like they were stamped images because we've got the similar black outline as we would to the stamps. Of course it's me, so the doodles had to go around the edge of the page. Would you expect anything else? I think we all know it helps to frame the page, and there are the girls in the page. So I use this Nouveau glue to stick that down. Once that's all stuck down, I'm going back into the paints and just adding a bit of a darker colour underneath their feet to ground it and to make it make sense with regards to shadows and whatnot. So we get that all down there, and I think it's looking all right. I'm quite happy. Now, I did say that we were allowed one other item. As I was going through this process, I sort of wrestled and changed my mind a number of times as to what I would have as my extra, and in the end I went for pencils. I wasn't sure whether to have a white gel pen or sparkle, but in the end I went for pencils, mostly because, as we have said, I am not proficient at watercolours, and I am used to colouring with a lot of difference in your values, a big difference between the shade and the highlight tone, and I wasn't quite achieving that because I don't yet have the skill set for that. So pencils just helped me to add that extra little bit of definition and shadow, so that is why I opted for the pencils as the extra. Also, when I did the cards in the last Dawn and Julia Create, I'd kind of wished I could have had pencils to have added details to the watercolour trees, so it gave me an opportunity to try out that technique here to see if it's something that I would like, and I really like the way it's turned out. I'm maybe not quite so keen on this tree that I'm doing now with the little love hearts, but the other two are just too cute, and I'm very, very happy with those. So it was quite good. It gave me a lot of options. I am then trying to go in with a sharp white pencil to create the sort of same doodle effect as if I'd had my white gel pen. It didn't quite turn out as a gel pen would. That was to be expected. It doesn't pop quite as much, but it still sort of gives that illusion of the little touches of white here and there, which help to sort of add things together. Finally, we are working on the sentiment that also comes in this stamp set, which says let's have some fun, and I'm just going to pop that into the corner of the page. So as usual, I am cutting round it and framing in black before popping it down. I cannot wait to see what the lovely Dawn has done. She's got the same watercolour paint set, so I absolutely can't wait to see what she has done and how she has used it. So please do pop across and see that one, and if you would like to see the video that I've been referencing all the time in this one, you can find that one right here. Take care, and I will be crafting with you again very, very soon.